Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Indy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another
it!
one! Another
Oladipo!
one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Worked out by Burke. Bounces into Cody. Puts it up. Scores!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Welcome aboard on this Tuesday. Hope you're doing well. We've got Kevin Brockway with us as always from CNHI. How are you, sir?
Morning.
Good day to you. Looking forward to another great one. Mike DeCourcy will be along. Chronic Hoosier will be along. Plenty to get to. I'm fresh back off of my trip to see my good friends at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg.
You got your Pink Floyd shirt going too.
Got me all fixed up, and man, if you live in the Sellersburg area, Southern Indiana, that's where you should be going. Reynolds Family Dentistry, for multiple reasons. They support this show. Number one, they do a great job. Number two, easiest trip to the dentist you're ever going to have. Relaxing, I'm telling you. Just if you're down there, that's where you should be going. Reynolds Family Dentistry. Thank you, Dr. J. What was going on? What's up?
No, I said you're on the dark side of the moon today with your little Pink Floyd shirt, and
How about that, man?
You ever see them in concert or no?
No, they broke up in what, 1970 something?
Later than that, I thought.
Well, I don't know. No, I did not see them though.
Okay.
That would have been. I like some of the music, but that a whole concert of that. I mean, that's something. Don't you have to take acid to go to a Pink Floyd concert or something? Isn't it like a required?
Oh yeah, Grateful Dead, all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm not. Was never my deal.
That's good.
But I do like some of the songs. Not every one of them though.
Yeah, I mean, The Wall. We're here. They had some great tunes.
Wish You Were Here is one of the greatest, shortest written songs in the history of the world. It's got 4 sentences.
Yep.
That's it, man. But it's great. The Colts are in a little bit of trouble, man. All that trouble over trying to find and decide on Carson Wentz, and he goes down like a pop balloon.
Yeah, and I was talking to my colleague George Bremer, who covers the Colts up in for Anderson for CNHI Indiana, and Jacob Eason is I don't know if he's going to be the answer. He's been pretty shaky in camp. Just likes to check down a lot. Doesn't like to, and when he does throw deep, every deep ball is kind of an adventure, and a lot of times they get picked. But Sam Ehlinger is kind of an interesting guy in camp. Because of his mobility. I mean, he's a guy that, I think you could see them do some Wildcat stuff with, apparently, because he's kind of a tough, strong kid at quarterback, kind of like a Tebow Light kind of guy. And you've got the 2 running backs in Taylor and, Marcus Mack. You might that might be the way to go early in the season until Wentz gets healthy.
Donald says hello from Georgia. Dwayne is in B-Town. Hey, Ross got it changed from RBO Sprint, so now I know him as Ross. Perfect.
All right.
Let's see. Tim's in New Albany. Good morning. Bavo reports his cancer's in remission.
Great
Good
news
for him. That's great to hear for him. Absolutely. Cody Zeller to the Trailblazers.
Yep. Saw that last night.
So there you go. He goes from one coast to the other.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's making a pretty nice living in the NBA, as many Indiana basketball players have done over the years, for sure. I had a chance to go up to, Pacers headquarters and interview Chris Duarte. What a great kid! That first-round pick. I think he's going to be a really good ambassador of the franchise in terms of just a guy that's very personable, and really as a player, a guy can play multiple positions, 1, 2, 3, and can guard multiple positions, and just a great story. A kid that came from the Dominican at 16 years old, didn't know English, went to a prep school in central New York, then bounced to a junior college down in Niceville, Florida, and made it to Oregon. And at 24 is a little bit of an older first-round draft pick, but they think is mature enough to kind of step in right away.
Brian's on with us as well from Michigan. Thank you, sir. Wyatt as well. Good to see you guys. Yeah, it's just the calm before the storm right now. Football camps are about to open in college. High school started yesterday. That's crazy that they start before college. But we'll be coming to you from this Thursday and Friday. Things kick off for Indiana as Indiana is having their football media days on Thursday. So we'll have tons of coverage for you there. There's going to be a basketball presser Friday that's after the show. So we'll have that stuff for you that day, but it'll be put out in various forms. But so lots coming on as the basketball team's preparing to leave for the Bahamas, football team preparing to open up camp, all the other sports. One thing that, I thought we were past talking about this, but the masks, they're back, man. They're coming back. There's just no doubt in my mind. I sent out a poll yesterday. As a matter of fact, I need to pull that up on Twitter, and I'll do that as we talk. But I don't see any way that the masks are not coming back for sporting events, even outdoor sporting events. It may be optional for some places, but as indoor, I don't see schools taking the chance with the athletes. Like basketball, I don't know. This is a total guess on my part, but it's also because of knowing where we are, the county. So it's there's some changes happening.
You think about this, July 11th, there were 0 new cases, 335 7-day average in Indiana. Now 1426 new cases, 979 7-day average. It's just like, it's nuts, but it's the Delta variant. I think that's what it is. And then you look overall in the United States right now, 135,000 new cases today on August 2nd. A lot of them in the Southeast, a lot of them in Florida. But
of course, you can't. And why is that?
Yeah, people not getting vaccinated.
See, and if that does not go to, dude, the proof is in the pudding. It's common sense. But what is it about people from the South? I don't want to do that, but what is it? Why? It seems like they're always the knuckleheads of America.
Yeah.
You want to find the knuckleheads of America, go to the South. That doesn't mean that's the only place that there are some knuckleheads. Doesn't mean that at all. But as a group, knuckleheads.
Why we politicize this, I will never know. Like, why can't we get the country to come together on this? That's just, to me, that's like.
If this was polio, this would not be like this.
Yeah. This is just like I said. This is the whole,
because we live in an age where everybody likes to throw in. Got to have my 2 cents out there. Oh, I got to have my 2 cents out there because it just doesn't matter if mine's not out there. It's people are morons. It basically comes down to that. To be honest with you, people are morons.
Well,
not all of it, but fortunately, not the people who are listening to us. It's the people who don't listen to us.
We will see how, the government, how we handle this next wave. We've handled waves before. Fingers crossed. Hopefully we get on another downward slope in the fall and we beat this thing, because I thought we had it beat a month ago. And obviously we didn't. Pacers were active yesterday. McConnell gets paid, McDermott gets done, and Torrey Craig signed as well. Yeah. A good night for the Pacers yesterday.
Yeah, I think they did well in the draft. Everyone seems happy with what they got.
Isaiah Jackson's another interesting guy too. The center from Kentucky that they got in terms of a guy that's a little bit of a rim protector, a shot blocker, and they think can develop into a better offensive player as well.
Torrey Craig, great story on him. He had one D1 offer. Do you know where it was from? USC Upstate, and that does not stand for University of Southern California. That's the University of South Carolina Upstate in Great Falls, South Carolina.
Spartanburg, I thought, yeah.
And that school had just moved to Division I, so he was never even eligible for the tournament during his time there, which that's another joke. It's the Bellarmine situation. It's a joke the NCAA does that. But if you move up a level to Division I, you're not eligible for the tournament for like 4 years. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. If you can compete when you first move up, let them in. Gee whiz.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's nuts. It is. But USC Upstate, beautiful Spartanburg, South Carolina. And that's a good get for the Pacers. And I think, Rick Carlisle was talking in the press conference on Friday about them getting more athletic, particularly defensively, and the ability to switch and not get caught in binds. And I think that's kind of what they're trying to build there, what they're trying to pattern there is a team that's going to be, recommit to defense after kind of the failed Nate Bjorkgren experiment last year, where, they basically didn't play defense. And Carlisle's not going to stand for that. He's going to want – I think that's part of the ethos of that franchise, the Pacers, is that, you've got to have that kind of lunch pail defensive mentality, especially because you don't have, necessarily, dynamic scores. You have above average offensive players, but, you're not going to consistently win games 140 to 130.
Tim mentions he wonders if we are in jeopardy of having no fans in the stands again. Well, we'll talk about that when we come back. Mike DeCourcy is going to join us. That's one of the things that has been on the back of some people's minds. We'll talk about that and plenty more. The Olympics continue. Simone Biles wins a medal on the beam. We'll see what else we can stir up. Mike DeCourcy with us when we come back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking That was a nice little tweet, wherever he was.
Sure, who was?
Oh, my God.
What?
See, here's these motherfuckers. This is going to – sorry, but I'm a major announcement from the Hoosier Hysterics. Those effing clowns. I guarantee you that – see, I'm about to get –
It's their major announcement.
Well, if I knew that, I would tell you. I don't know.
I thought you were prefacing. I thought you knew.
No, but I'm about it's nothing that's not good. It's going to make me mad. I can tell you that. It's just more of their bullshit of crossing the line of not being media, but being loud access and being connected to media. It's just bullshit. They're a bunch of clowns.
You apply for your credentials or no?
For where?
For football?
Not yet. I got to do that. I forgot.
Yeah. You going to Iowa or no?
Yes.
Who you going with, Gable?
No.
No? You going with your girlfriend?
No. What? Cut his fucking mic off.
Funny.
Cut his mic off.
Oh. You don't want people to know that you're,
Dude, shut up. You know you're live on here, right?
I like.
Cut his mic. I'm not kidding.
We're coming back.
Mute him.
We're coming back anyway, so.
Wings, tender steaks, and seafood. Som's Ale House in Carmel and on 86th Street in Indy have a long list of craft beers and all of the right foods to go with. Plan a day on the links at Eagle Point in Bloomington, then stay for dinner at Som's Clubhouse. Som's Restaurants, professionals in the art of food and drink.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Hey, welcome back on this Tuesday. Make sure if you're looking for a new vehicle, get out to see our good friends at Andy Moore Honda. They've got the best selection, great, and the best deals. Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
You ever see the movie Midnight Run?
It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Sometimes I feel like I'm the Charles Grodin to your Robert De Niro when I ask you those probing questions and stuff. Why aren't you popular with the Chicago Police Department?
Why don't you just shut up? Because that's what he always says. Why don't you just shut up? And you know what's ironic? I think I have an ulcer now.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. And if you've seen that movie, Robert De Niro's character has an ulcer. And the whole time, the Charles Grodin character is like, he's like, God, you just aggravating my ulcer. And that's the truth. You're right. That's a great one. That is so funny. That makes me laugh. But if you've ever had an ulcer, which I have never had, oh my God.
Of course, Dennis Farina is great in that movie too. I love,
Oh, have a effing sandwich. What was his buddies?
Sydney, relax, Sydney. Yeah,
Sydney. It's one of my favorite movies. Oh my God, you can't say half the lines though because they got. Well, yeah, you got cuss words, but that's. I wrote a paper on that for my one of my communication classes because the interpersonal relationship of those two guys because that was such it was so yeah, but. Yeah.
We got Mike back on. The
great Mike DeCourcy joining us. Sir, how are you doing, sir?
Gentlemen, how are you?
Good.
We are just sitting there laughing at each other, talking about Midnight Run, the movie Midnight Run, one of my favorite movies.
Yes. Loved it.
He was comparing me and him to those two characters.
Charles Grodin and Robert G.
He's sitting there needling me. And I'm like going, yeah, you gave me an ulcer. All right. I just got an ulcer, but oh man. Saw Simone Biles competed in the beam, wins her a bronze, the women's ladies soccer program, not coming back with gold as we would have expected. The Olympics they were what we expected and not what we expected, I guess you could say.
You mean from the standpoint of U.S. performance?
Right.
Yeah, it's not been super stellar. I mean, 3 of the 4 beach volleyball teams are already out of the quarterfinals. The men's volleyball team didn't get out of pool play. Women's soccer obviously is expected to at least play for a gold medal, especially when you're playing Canada, a team that they had not lost to in 20 years. I was covering each game of the women's tournament for Sporting News, and when they played Australia in the 3rd game, and a tie would get them through as the second place team in the group, it was impossible for them to win the group because they'd lost to Sweden, and Sweden had won all of its games. They played pragmatically. They went ahead and said, okay, tie's fine. And really for the last 25, 30 minutes of the game, just kicked the ball around and didn't really try to win. And I think that's antithetical to the spirit of this team. And I think it hurt. I think it hurt them a lot. I really do. I think it made a real difference. Instead of working on trying to improve and get better and get back to the dominance that they've shown so regularly, they went ahead and did, this is good enough. And that's never been who this team has been. And you could hear it in the analysis of Julie Foudy from typically from ESPN, in this case, working for NBC Sports, who was a member of the 1999 World Cup champion, along with multiple gold medalists in the Olympics. And she was just beside herself as they did that, as they went ahead and kicked the ball around instead of pressing and trying to win the game. And I agree with her. I can't believe that that's the approach they took. And I think it had an impact on the 2 games that remained.
Absolutely. And it's just surprising to see the men are fighting back in basketball. But these performances that we expected, and I don't know if it's post-COVID. I'm so sick of blaming COVID for stuff. So it's like time to get over that, because everybody else had to deal with that too. So I don't know what has led to it, or maybe it is just the mental aspect of going through all this COVID stuff, that it affects so many people differently. I don't know, but it has definitely been not the results that we clearly anticipated, and not that that's required, but that probably should have been there though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that you can use COVID as an excuse in this case. Certainly, it affected certain particular teams or individuals. One of the members of the men's beach volleyball team, a pole vaulter who might have been able to perform. Particular members of teams, yeah, but in general, Bradley Beal's another one from the Wizards who had to stay home from the Olympics and would have been a regular, getting a lot of minutes for the U.S. men. But in general, everybody has been impacted by this substantially across the globe. In some cases, even maybe worse than the United States because they don't have access to the vaccine and those sorts of things. So I don't look at that as for an individual, yes. For the collective, this country, that country, no. I don't think that works.
I saw that they beat Spain. The U.S. beat Spain in the quarterfinals. They seem to have righted themselves. What do you think has been maybe a little different this last week?
Yeah. I got up and watched that game, 12:40 a.m. tip off today. And the first thing that was different is that they really moved the basketball. They passed really well. I didn't check the final number, but at one point they had 14 assists on their first 17 baskets. And when you have that many weapons, and they almost always have 5 high-level scorers on the floor, when you have that many weapons, if you move the basketball, it becomes really difficult for a defense to do that much with it. When you have less than 5 weapons, then defenses can gum up things up by saying, okay, we're not worried about him, we're worried about him. But when you can put 5 guys on the floor who can make threes and who can really score, it makes it hard for the defense. And then the other thing is, on the opposite side, they defended really well. Ricky Rubio is going to get all kinds of headlines because he scored 38 points. But the reality is he didn't help them. The U.S. totally exploited him on defense. He had one of the lowest plus-minus ratings for Spain of any player. I think he was down around -20 or -22, even though he scored 38 points. So think about the math on that. That's pretty amazing.
And you have to be defensively, yeah.
and the reality is, at the start of the second quarter, toward the end of the first quarter, Spain was down, I think, 19-17. U.S. was up by 2. And they took Rubio out after he'd scored, I think, 13 points in the first quarter. And Spain went and took an 11-point lead. And then they put him back in, and by halftime it was tied. So it said a lot about the defensive game plan, which was don't overhelp off Rubio. If he scores a lot of points, we'll get that back, but don't get wrecked in other places. They held both Gasol scoreless. Willie Hernan Gomez had 10. They just didn't get anything from anybody else because the defense was really well designed and well executed.
Simone Biles wins bronze in her in the beam competition. And what you pointed out, maybe her final event as a competitive gymnast after this Olympics that definitely did not turn out the way she expected, and a lot of other people. Where does she go next?
Well, I think that she's going to have a lucrative career as an endorser, a speaker. She's very eloquent and should be able to do extremely well in terms of motivational speeches and that sort of thing.
But surely this had to hurt her value.
I don't think so. I don't think it will. No, I think I think she is. I think the fact that she was open about what her issues were, I endeared her to a lot of people. That she didn't try to hide, fake an ankle injury or whatever. She was very open about what she'd been through. I don't think that this impacts that at all. I think she'll do extremely well. Who can talk more about fighting through adversity than someone who has demonstrated significant adversity? I mean, she could have won 5-6 gold medals at these games, depending on how she performed, and she lost her edge. Got the yips, in gymnastics, they call it the twisties. And it's funny because a lot of people, and particularly men, were acting like she had quit on her team. And we've also, I grew up in the 70s when Steve Blass went from winning 19 games and winning Game 7 of the World Series in 71, then 19 games in 72. Maybe the best pitcher in the National League that year. And then in 1973, literally could not throw the ball over the plate. Walked 4 times as many players as he struck out before they finally just said, we can't send you out there anymore. You can't throw it over the plate. And that happens. And Steve Sachs couldn't throw the ball to first for a while. And Chuck Knobloch had that happen.
Rick Ankiel in the postseason.
Yeah, exactly. I forgot about Rick, but you're right. Yep. And that happens in sports, but in golf, we've all probably had it as well. The yips where you get up on a 2-foot putt and you're like, oh man, I might miss this, and then you miss it.
But isn't that just called choking?
No, it's are you going to call a protracted career-ending psychological event as happened, if you want to call it that, with Steve Blass? That's not choking. That's
enough. You can't get past it.
No, in a moment. Yeah. I mean, in a moment, hey, like I said, we've all, but like certain athletes get to the point where they literally can't make that putt, where they can't execute the normal things in their sport. But the difference in gymnastics is the normal things in your sport, if you can't execute them as you usually do, you could die. You could end up in a wheelchair, paralyzed for the rest of your life. And she understood that as she struggled in the qualifying and then threw up that first vault that was clearly not her. And she said, no, this isn't working for me. And if I keep doing this, I could not only hurt the team in this competition, I could hurt myself. And I totally respect what she did. And I totally disrespect the people who slammed her in the way that they did and used her as a target. Really, it was really vile.
Oh, absolutely. Because I can attest to this. Any competitor wants to compete. You don't put in years and years and 7 days a week of your life to not want to compete. So I promise everybody she wanted to compete. I can't believe she didn't, because even though she was smart enough to do that, I agree with you that she was smart enough to not do it, because I would have been dumb and went ahead and tried, and it would have hurt the team. No, seriously. And it would have hurt things. I would not have been smart enough to say, you know what, I can't do this, because it takes a lot more to do that than it does to just stay quiet and go in and fail.
Right. That's a great point, Jim. It really is. And that's, and there was a lot of criticism of her that she hurt the team because she withdrew. And the irony of it is that because she withdrew from the team event, instead of sticking up bad scores on each of the next 3 apparatus I don't know what the plural of apparatus is. Apparatuses.
That's right. Yeah.
If she'd done that, they might have fallen completely off the podium. Instead, they got the silver medal. And then think about
and they win a 5th consecutive all around.
Yes, if she opened up opportunities for others on her team. Suni Lee would not have been the all-around champion and joined that great club of fabulous gymnasts like Mary Lou Retton and Nadia Comaneci and Simone Biles, for that matter.
Yeah.
And then Michaela had the opportunity to compete for in the vault competition and ended up with a silver medal. She was going to go home with nothing, and she earned a silver. And that, so I think that you forget that you can help your team in a lot of ways. And I think beyond just cheering, she really did.
Yeah, Michaela, Skinner was interesting because I did a story on Simone for CNHI, for Olympics page before the competition, and she was just talking about how advanced some of what Simone does and the fact that her fearlessness and her courage back then. And you brought up the safety aspect of this whole thing again, that if you're trying to do this and you're not mentally right, I mean, one bad slip up and you could seriously injure yourself.
Yeah, and so I'm thankful that she got through this without anything like that. Remember, she had to have those episodes in the qualifying when she fell off the floor and when she couldn't land her vaults, and then even worse in the team event when she did take her one vault. It's good that she didn't get hurt in those, because it was clearly deteriorating towards something like that. And it was really cool today to be able to watch her. You'll see it tonight, I presume, on NBC if you didn't get up at 5 o'clock this morning to watch it on Peacock. And it was really a cool thing because she stood tall and really delivered a nice performance. It wasn't her best, but it was pretty good. And as I was watching it, and then she got her score, and it wasn't what you normally see from Simone Biles. And I started to wonder whether or not the judges, looking at damaged Simone Biles rather than impervious Simone Biles, maybe graded her down a little bit. Now that she wasn't perfect anymore, they didn't feel compelled to score her quite as high as she probably earned at least a few more points. And I don't know how high she would have had to get to get the silver, but I think she certainly deserved a couple of more points than she got.
Ross says, I've got friends in South Lake, Texas, where Quinn Ewers is from. We'll talk about this when we come back. He's leaving high school to enroll in college, specifically to sign an NIL deal. It's a great gig if you can get it. We'll be right back and talk about that on Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether you're looking for
Does it say how much that thing is worth?
$500K.
Holy crap. If that doesn't show you that the rich are going to get richer.
Well, honestly, I've thought all along that there's no program that should benefit more from this than Ohio State. I don't know. I don't in the whole country, because I don't know if you guys have spent much time in Columbus, but drive through there. I drive through on I-70 on the way to Pittsburgh all the time, right? And drive through and turn on their sports station in June, and they're talking Buckeyes football.
There's nothing but Ohio State and Columbus.
But no, there is now. That's the thing. They have a hockey team. They have a soccer team. And they have, a top 25 college basketball team. But you can go drive through in the heart of all those seasons, and 99% chance if you're driving through for maybe 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever the range of the station is, you're going to hear them talking about Buckeyes football. It's a huge town that is absolutely obsessed.
I remember when I went there in 2007 and I covered Gator basketball. The Gators played there, and walking down that stretch, and it was all sports memorabilia shops and tattoo shops. And that was before the whole Tressel. That was before the whole Tressel Terrell Pryor. But it's just like, they have their own cottage industry there to help the athlete. I mean, they had it back then.
Yeah, that's funny. That is, especially. I hope you wrote that at some point. That's great.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no town like Columbus. It's the biggest city in America that is obsessed that has college football as it's by far its primary sport. I mean, every town has Pittsburgh has the Steelers, they're the number one. Dallas has the Cowboys, LA has the Lakers. Everybody has their number one sport, but Columbus, it's one of the 25, 30 biggest markets in the country, and it's the Buckeyes.
Yep. All the Buckeyes. All Buckeyes all the time.
All Buckeyes all the time.
And they don't really talk about Buckeyes basketball, do they? I mean, I guess a little bit.
No, I mean, like if on the day of a game or they win a big game or whatever, or they get to the tournament, but I mean, it's not, they're not obsessed with Buckeyes. They're obsessed with Buckeyes football.
Yeah. That was like Florida. They're obsessed with Gator football. They weren't obsessed, unless they were in the tournament. And I mean, I think that's probably the same thing like the Thad Matta years. I bet they probably had a little buzz when they got to when they had Odin and Conley.
Right.
We're coming back in 10 seconds.
A month. Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back on this Tuesday. Kevin Brockway, Mike DeCourcy sitting with me right now. When we left, we were talking about Mr. Dollar Signs. Actually, was the shit calling. But Quinn Ewers leaving high school a year early to go to Ohio State and sign an NIL deal. And he won't be the last of those. I don't know. Is that good for these kids? I know when you sign a $500,000 deal, that's pretty good, period. But long term, I don't know. Is this good for these kids leaving high school early? I know that they're different because they're special athletes and their life is going to probably be different. But you start missing out on things in life already, and now that changes. But that's where we're going, I guess.
Let me point out, Jim, that if there were no NIL and if Quinn were a fairly typical elite prospect, which is, that's kind of a contradiction in terms, but he probably would have left high school at the end of the fall semester anyway, so that he could be in spring football. So, and I don't know what Quinn will do in this circumstance, but then he would have gone back for his prom. If he'd done the spring football thing and the date worked out, he probably would have gone back to his prom, and maybe he'll do that now. I hope he does, because proms are fun and all of that. But I don't think this is bad. I think this is good. I think the NIL push, development, whatever, is going to encourage more athletes to attend college, get trained in the college environment. To obviously, you have to, if you're going to compete for any length of time, and particularly in football, you have to compete for a length of time in order to be a successful NFL prospect. You're going to get educated as well, not just educated in your sport and get some basic stuff your freshman year, like the elite basketball prospect does, but educated and maybe even graduate in the case of someone like this. And so I think it's really a positive. I think that the G League Ignite deal is not ideal. It's good to have an alternative if you absolutely don't want to go to college, but I still don't think it's as good for training prospects under ordinary circumstances as going to college. And this overtime elite thing, I got no time for it at all. We're going to put a league together. Well, how come you only got like 6 players? I know no time for that. So NIL allows the player to get the money that they deserve to get based on what their name and likeness are worth, and pursue the best path toward educating oneself and training oneself for professional sports beyond.
Yeah, I agree with that. Earlier, we were also talking about the fact that the COVID numbers are kind of rising. They're not kind of rising, they're rising. And so we've seen some adjustments and mask mandates and thinking that there could very possibly be more changes coming in the fall for the sports season. And I put out a poll on Twitter asking, with COVID numbers climbing and mask mandates possibly changing to 10 sporting events, if that happens, would you wear a mask to attend games, not attend live events, or undecided? 71% will wear a mask to attend games. So people want to go to the events.
Yeah, we've gone through this a lot, Jim, and I don't want to make the show strictly a vaccine show or whatever, but will they be willing to get vaccinated so they can go? Because if that happens, we can make this go away. I retweeted a 4-minute video from a doctor at a Louisiana hospital that's basically says, look, we can control this, but we are running out of room in our hospitals and we've got real problems. And so I'll just say it once again, that the solution to this is the vaccine, whichever one you can get. They're all out there. They're all plentiful. We are blessed in this country beyond belief that it's not difficult to get. And so people should take advantage of that.
There was one response that says, as a vaccinated person, not only would I not attend, I would demand my ticket money back for a second year in a row, but not being a third. That's not I'll wear the mask. I don't give a crap, whatever it takes. But yeah, we could be out of this. There was a map I saw earlier that I wish I could find that somebody put out. Is hilarious. It shows a map of the country. And of course, the red was in the lower portion. It says the SEC has joined COVID, or however it went.
COVID has joined the SEC.
COVID has joined the SEC, yeah. Yes. It's the funniest thing I've seen for a bit, which brings up Texas and Oklahoma. They are in officially the SEC now, but it's not supposed to start until 2025. Of course, that'll change. But the deal with Bob Bowlesby and the Big 12 threatening the ESPN because they were actively interfering with their conference, and that could be proven. And he's saying that he's got definitive proof that shows this. That could be kind of dangerous for ESPN.
Well, I mean, ESPN has enough money to make this, go for a long period of time. I mean, even if there is proof, and I'm not saying there is, it could last a very long time. I understand why the Big 12 is frustrated. I don't think this is good for college sports. I thought that we know that ESPN 10 years ago or so made an effort to keep the Big 12 alive. And a lot of the idea was that it's not good for college football to have a vast gap in terms of major conferences in the Southwest and the Plains. That's a massive portion of this country. And for them to not have a significant conference to call their own damages the college landscape. And that's why I was really perturbed about Greg Sankey saying 2 weeks ago that there wasn't enough leadership in college sports. And meanwhile, basically
he's going behind people's backs.
Yeah, his view of leadership is I get more powerful. That's not leadership. I'm sorry. I don't buy that at all. So,
and his view was to go behind people's backs to do it. That is just horrible to take your two anchors and to be engaging with them unbeknownst to them. That I just find it deplorable.
Bob Bowlesby was asked at Big 12 Media Day, so 3 weeks ago, maybe not even that. What do you think about realignment? And he said, it's not something that keeps me up at night. So he had no idea, none at all. He would not have put himself in the position to be embarrassed like that if he had any inkling. So I feel badly for him. I thought he was doing a good job with the league. I had some quibbles with him early on in his tenure, but I think he's done a really good job the last 6 or 7 years. And so, what they ought to do now is they ought to expand. And there's a clause in their contract, and I don't know if it's still active because they declined it and took extra money. There was a clause in their contract initially that ESPN, and this is one of the other bothersome things about all this, is that ESPN, there was a clause in the contract that said if the Big 12 expanded, ESPN had to write a check in so many words, had to write a check to all the new members that was basically equivalent to what the old members were getting. Like whatever, like if it's $25 million a year, Cincinnati comes in, well, now you got to give that to them too. Something like that. Don't hold me to the legal language. And Big 12 said, ESPN said, we really don't want you to do that because we don't think it's worth it. And so the Big 12 said, okay, we won't. And I think they got some money for that, but it was a good business relationship. And then this happens and it all falls apart. So I'm hopeful that the Big 12, they are still currently an A5 conference, an Autonomy 5 conference. And I think if they add Cincinnati, Memphis, Central Florida, Houston or South Florida, their call, I think if they add those, I think they can maintain that. I think they should maintain that. I think there's enough quality programs, football, men's basketball, women's basketball, et cetera. I think there's enough quality programs in what's left of the Big 12 and in those that I mentioned that it still belongs in the same company, at the bottom of the pile maybe, but in the same company as those other 4 leagues.
What do you make of the Big Ten certain situation and all the craziness of going out west? And could you see them reasonably doing that given their relationship with the Pac-12? I mean, that dates back to the Rose Bowl, 1903. Could you see them, in effect, raiding the Pac-12?
I don't even, I even beyond the relationship, it's about what's smart for you. And could they get some more money if they went and got UCLA and USC or UCLA and Stanford or SC, whatever combination? Could they get more money? Maybe. But does anyone out there think that there's a problem in the Big Ten and at the universities that compete in Big Ten sports with money? I don't think that's a problem. I think that what makes the Big Ten is first and foremost there is a relative collegiality and a relative geographic proximity to what they're doing. It's stretched out a little bit more than it used to be, but everybody's still contiguous. It goes farther than it once did, but it still is all connected, and it works. And then there's the AAU thing and that academic prestige that is important to them, and I think makes the conference stronger. And that those massive alumni bases and all of that plays into it. And I think if you throw yourself all the way out to California, I mean, you're skipping over. You're talking about contiguous. You're skipping over 12 states now to get to California. I just don't see it. And it's although as I mentioned, I respect the Big 12 and what's left in there, I don't think there's anything there that empowers the Big Ten. It just makes it bigger. Leave the door open for Notre Dame if they ever change their mind, and I'm not sure whether they can or would, but doors open. They're Notre Dame. But otherwise, I don't think there's anyone out there who makes the league better in every way a league should be better.
Yeah, they're not. And there's so many people that are kind of to the point where, like, screw Notre Dame. Big Ten asked them twice. They said no, so to heck with them. But you can't be that way because they would actually enhance the league. And like you said, they are one of the few that are out there that would actually bring benefit.
Yeah. And I think you also have to remember, Jim, that, that was under a prior administration and I understand why they were mad. But for the new administration, for Kevin Warren, if by some chance Notre Dame knocked on the door, this would be a chance for Kevin to really add a feather to his cap. So I don't think he would or could say, no, you've turned us down before. I think he'd have to push really hard to say, look, this is going to make us stronger. And it would, and it fits perfectly if that's the way that Notre Dame wants to go. But for as long as I've covered college sports, they value independence, excuse the pun, almost at a religious level. So I don't think it's going to happen.
How does this really help Texas joining the SEC? They already have more money than anybody else. And so it's not going to make them, it will make them more money, but that's not the reason. Going into a conference, they haven't won the Big 12 for how long? And so what in the world are they going to go do when they go into a conference that's even twice as competitive, twice as hard as the Big 12 was? Oklahoma won, 6 straight over there? I mean, Texas could have been the only dog in the Big 12 because they were the only truly big time Texas school. A&M had left, and I think that made Texas mad a little bit because they were getting some benefit from that. But I don't know where Texas gets a lot from going to the SEC, to be honest with you.
What's interesting is that, first of all, I think there's a feeling, and I really believe that they were looking around for a reason to explain away their failures in football and in other sports as well, but particularly in football. And so it can't be us. It can't be that we screwed up like 5 hires in a row. It's got to be that we're in this bad league, so to speak. And that's not me calling the Big 12 bad. And so I think they use that as a scapegoat. So now that they're in the SEC, well, now everybody who wants to play in the SEC is going to want to come to Texas. The problem with that is that they haven't been able to conquer a lesser league in the Big 12. And they've hired a new coach who is fine, but and maybe he turns into Nick Saban all of a sudden. But Nick Saban made a pretty clear declaration of who he was in his earlier iterations as coach before he got to Alabama. Did great at Michigan State, goes to LSU, wins the national championship, gets hired in the NFL, doesn't necessarily like the way the franchises run, goes back to Alabama, and now cleans up. I don't think Sarkisian is that guy. So I'm not sure that Texas gets gets any benefit out of this at all. And now, the mountains are a lot higher to climb. So they'll still have more money than everybody else. And, we talked before about the value of NIL and what it means to Columbus and Ohio State. There's a pretty significant advantage in the same way for Texas and the city of Austin. It's a nice big city, growing, a lot of companies located there. So there might be an ability to lure players based on that, and maybe that turns it forward.
Hey, Mike, I know a thing or two about a team.
I know a thing or two about a thing or two.
About Saban disciples, right? Will Muschamp at Florida, Jim McElwain at Florida. Didn't quite pan out very well. Another point about Texas, too, I thought it was interesting because someone talked about Texas reaching out to the Big 12, one of the commenters, or Big 10, excuse me. Texas kind of has this reputation, right, in the Big 10 of being the big bully, carrying their weight around. They're going to have a hard time in the SEC doing that. It's not going to be the same power dynamic that they enjoyed in the Big 12 conference. So kind of be careful what you wish for there, too, with them.
Yeah, they're going to have zero power. I mean, they got none now. And they don't even have it. Like, where else are they going to go now? I mean, that was the other foolish thing about this, is that as long as they were in the Big 12, they always had the hammer. If you guys aren't nice to us, if you don't do what we need done, then we can leave. We can go independent. We're that big. We can pick up the phone and call the SEC, and they'll answer it. And obviously they did. So they always had that hammer. And giving that up, I think that's going to cost them. I don't think they're going to be as happy in this league as they think they are. They're going to
like everybody else now.
Yeah, they're going to get more money. Texas can't find the money they have. There's so much.
Yes. It's coming out of oil wells, literally. Seriously. I mean, they are the richest university, I think, in the country. They have the biggest budget. But I think this may have made an easier path for some Big 10 teams, because you're beating up now. You're like, because everyone was worried about, well, the Big 12, you gotta give them some love. Well, you don't have to worry about that anymore. And if the SEC has beat the crap out of Texas and Oklahoma, well, you don't have to worry about them. They've taken themselves out of the picture, I think, and maybe made it easier for, say, a Penn State who can't get to the Big Ten championship game, or Indiana even, because they finished a game behind Ohio State, and that's their only loss of the year or whatever. But we've seen it to where Penn State has been in that position and couldn't get in. I think this makes it potentially easier for the Big Ten, and it may. You always hear about a Big Ten basketball. Oh, they always beat up on each other, which is really a farce. But that's going to be the perception in SEC football. Oh, well, they're beating up on each other. So, I mean, now you're going to probably end up with a couple losses a year extra potentially because of where you've gone. And I don't know where they gain. They, like you just said, they can't find the money they have because they have more money than Kevin Brockway. But I think it was a bad move for Texas. And Oklahoma, I understand, because they were still, as though they were good, very good, and leading that conference. they were not the dominant. They're not bringing in tons of cash. Maybe it's because they're Oklahoma City and they're not in a big enough market, but I don't know. But maybe Oklahoma it works out for, but even them, I don't know. I think they should have stayed where they were.
Well, I think there are a couple things to watch for as this goes forward. And while most of the people who cover college football are like designing new leagues out there, I think the two things that are being undercovered, one is the football playoff, the college football playoff, as it was the expansion proposal, as it was redesigned, is 12 teams, automatic bids for the top 6 conferences. So does that number change now? I think that's the single most important question.
And who says what the top 6 conferences are, or top whatever number?
But there's no. They never said how you would do it. But they can't say SEC East and SEC West. That doesn't count. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is that AQ status, which I haven't had the time to go into because of the Olympics. But what has to happen for the Big 12 to be demoted from that? Is it possible? Does it take a vote of the other members? Would the other members stack up against the SEC and say, no, we're not voting them out because we don't want you to gain more power? So, there's a lot of different things out there that I haven't seen discussed a lot as people are trying to put Iowa State into the Big Ten or whatever. I think those elements are as important as anything as this discussion goes forward in the short term.
Oh, man, it's been a great one, Mike. I cannot thank you enough. Make sure you give Mike a follow and follow him at the Sporting News especially. Brother, how's the rest of your week looking?
I have been keeping the strangest hours. I mean, I got up.
He's a vampire now.
Oh, I am, man. Yeah. I got up at 4 a.m. for soccer yesterday. And then I got up last night at 12:40 a.m. Stayed up all night because I wrote my Kevin Durant or my USA basketball column, and Simone Biles is going at 4:50 a.m. So I had stayed up for that. So and then and one of the problems with the women playing in the bronze medal game instead of the gold medal game is instead of playing at 10 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday. Now they're playing at 4 a.m., so another early morning for me. So the way my week looks is I'm not getting any sleep.
I got 3 letters for you, Mike. DVR.
That's a great idea.
Thank you, my friend. I can't thank you enough.
Thanks, Jim and Kevin. Take care.
Great Mike DeCourcy joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio as he does each and every week. We got a lot more coming up here. We'll be back with it right on here after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're
stretching out.
Stretching out. Today is Tuesday, right?
Yes, sir.
Golly, I got so much. You have no idea how the next 2 weeks of my life are going to be. I've got to personally move within the next 10 days. My daughter moving her to Ole Miss on the 14th. We've got IU football media day this Thursday, basketball presser on Friday, open football practice on Friday. Yeah,
so where did you see the thing about this? I haven't seen anything from JD on this press conference.
Did I say there was anything sent out?
No.
Maybe I'm just a good reporter.
Maybe I
know things. Maybe I just know things.
But they got to fix that.
Fix what?
I mean, they can't usurp. They can't usurp football like that.
Huh?
They can't usurp football like that. You know what I mean?
It's pretty dumb. Hey, Chronic, how you doing, brother?
Man, nothing dumb that comes out of that press shop's ever going to surprise me.
It's so ridiculous. We've got a basketball presser Friday at 11, but of course, it's the first open football practice.
From 10 to noon.
Is going on. It's right in the middle of the first open football practice.
JD doesn't care about anybody else's schedules.
I'm like, man, it's just
They should move that to 1 or 2. Like, do it after.
Well, of course they
do it after.
There's a lot of things that should be done.
It's the same insular thinking that produces a bunch of random basketball tweets in the middle of a bowl game. When the focus should be solely on the football team. They're everybody's siloed off and nobody's thinking about what everybody else is doing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not right.
All right, bring us back in.
For a relaxing night with the family, meeting for lunch, hanging with friends, or on the golf course, Sam's Restaurants has multiple locations and something for everyone. Sam's Restaurant in Fishers has homemade coffee cakes and much more. Sam's Place in Broad Ripple has wings, tender steaks, and seafood. Sam's Ale House in Carmel and on 86th Street in Indy have a long list of craft beers and all of the right foods to go with. Plan a day on the links at Eagle Point in Bloomington, then stay for dinner at Sam's Clubhouse. Sam's Restaurants, professionals in the art of food and drink.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back. Tuesday, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. It's going to be a great week. Chronic Hoosier joins us. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Sorry, I was a little late to join. Just got out of my first meeting with my surgeon here, trying to chart a path forward with this busted ACL.
You gonna be back in time for the start of basketball season?
I'm struggling with it right now. I'm really struggling trying to figure out when's the best time to shut it down. And honestly, there's no good time. The best time would have been about 2 months ago, probably. But regardless, I need to look at maybe getting what are my handicap options? Like, where are you going to put me seating wise if I got to roll in there in a chair or on crutches? It's a pain in the butt, but it is what it is, man. It's at least it's here. That's the good thing.
Well, you should find the Chronic. You should find the doctors that perform the surgery on Penix and the rehab specialists, because that's this is amazing. I mean, if he plays on September 4th, that'll be 2 ACL surgeries that he's recovered in less than a year.
There's no if he's playing. I promise you, he's playing.
It's unbelievable. The more I've dug into this and seen what the process is like, you look back at some of the videos of him throwing that we've seen over the last couple of months. Absolutely extraordinary. Both the medical team, what they've been able to do, but more than anything, everything I read, the determination it takes from the patient to rehab, to recover, and to get where he is now. Just incredible fortitude on the part of our of QB1.
Well, we're getting closer and closer. Fall camp opens up on Friday, Chronic. We've got IU football media days coming this Thursday, so we'll be out there for that. We've already had the Big Ten media days, but practice is starting, man, and looking forward to it.
It's here. I mean, we say it every week, but it's here. It's upon us. It's honestly, it's the best time of the year. Always love these first couple of weeks. Summer school's done. Campus is effectively emptied out. The annual ritual of people driving across town with dangerously unsecured loads of furniture strapped to the hoods and roofs of their cars. It's absolutely my favorite time. I want to do a new blog. Maybe make it a game show. Will they make it? Here's a 98 Camry with a couch and a mattress strapped to the roof. Let's follow along and see how this goes. No, it's awesome though. The best part now though, as you just mentioned, everybody's back on campus for this week. Fall camp begins. All the hard work these guys have put in the off season is going to come to fruition now. And you guys are lucky enough to get a first glimpse of what it looks like, what the composition is, how the chemistry appears. And before too long, we get to hear those pads popping again. So can't wait.
Yeah, I am really looking forward because it has been 2 years since we've been able to go out to practice. Right now, the post-practice pressers will be live. That's that's football. I mean, being out there, it's normally hot, but I hope it's not hot this time. But forget that; it doesn't care. It's the sound, the smell. It's all of that, and it's just brings that time of year around. And looking forward to it, mainly because it's going to be a very, very exciting time.
Yeah, I was just having to talk to my son. He's begun his football career here in 7th grade, and explaining to him just how ridiculously fortunate he is heading into August football practice, and there's no heat advisories. Last week got a little bit sticky, but this week is just perfect. I mean, idyllic weather for this time of year. You could not draw up just a better time to start camp. Highs in the low 80s, temps in the 50s and the 60s at night. It just absolutely perfect. Like football gods are smiling on us now after what everybody had to endure last year.
Absolutely. And now also the Bahamas trip coming up as Indiana leaves next week to go down to play some hoops.
Yeah, we're 10 days away from Indiana basketball actually taking the floor against a new and foreign opponent. So can't wait to see the reports that come out. Understand there's going to be significantly limited video. I was talking to Zach last week, and we cut our latest Mind Your Banners. He said they are capping video at 2 minutes.
Yes.
Which is, the fan in me says it's a little bit ridiculous. The strategist in me tells me that this staff is probably very concerned about unnecessarily putting film down for opponents to study, to break down what they're trying to do. So, there's, again, I'm a little frustrated we don't get to watch, but you got to tip your cap to the tactics already being employed by this staff and keeping everything under wraps, only available for the fortunate few who are able to attend in person.
Yeah, trust me. I know all about that, footing the bill for that. So and I can tell you how much per minute that video is costing. So
I'll tell you what, man, that's your fault though. You got somebody going there to write. You need to be like the court reporters, and you need somebody that can sketch really fast.
There you go.
Kind of like that old AHA video. You can just draw. There's no.
And then you can make a cartoon out of it.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Like some animation. Perfect. What's coming up next for you? B-Town is about wrapping up their summer. It's not wrapping up the summer, but we're in August. School's coming back. So summer is not by temperature wise, but summer itself is starting to wrap up. And that changes the mindset of people, what's going on, what their focus is around here.
Yeah, this is the time of year where Monroe County School Corporation really draws my ire, to be honest with you. We community school starts here on Wednesday. My kids are staring down the last true day of summer for them before school starts in earnest tomorrow. And just really unfortunate. I understand the reasons why with the state mandates and the calendar they have to put together. But, mourning the loss of what was previously kind of that 2-week window or so where you kind of had your last hurrah. It was always the deadest time in town. It was always that opportunity we had to, whether it was take one last trip or, go plan some fun activities during the day so you could really soak up the last moments of summer before it started. But alas, community school starts tomorrow. So for at least for my household, summer is officially over this evening before everybody returns to campus. But you're already seeing signs of life. There's U-Hauls bustling all over. Target's starting to look like a war zone. Grocery store doesn't have anything. So the rhythms of the season, if you will, here in Bloomington, we are officially in turnover season. And for all the inconveniences it brings, that just means fall sports are imminently upon us. So cannot wait for that.
Looks like masks are coming back too.
Yeah, that's going to be a real fascinating thing here. The Board of Health is meeting today. County commissioners meet tomorrow. It's widely anticipated that the mask mandate is coming back to Monroe County for all indoor spaces. We are likely moving into the orange phase of the COVID color chart. So it's unfortunate that we're kind of regressing right now. Hopefully, folks take precautions and follow the advice, and let's help quash this last resurgence. And hopefully, it's the last wave we have to deal with here. But this is the product of the consequences of our choices. And we continue to have heightened community spread, and let's just hope that we're able to manage it effectively while minimizing, illness and death, and not jeopardizing the return to normalcy that everybody's been promised, particularly as it relates to campus life and athletics at IU.
A little soccer news. Blooming, Indiana head men's soccer coach Todd Yeagley announced the elevation of Kevin Robson to associate head coach today. Kevin's new role spotlights his important contributions to the soccer program, said Yeagley. His engaging personality, tremendous work rate, and eye for talent has played a big part in our success on and off the field. So it's kind of a big deal, associate head coach.
Yeah, shout out to Roby. He stepped in when Mays moved out. Actually, he came in before Mays was gone, but assumed that role both on the sidelines as well as on the recruiting trail, and has just done an absolutely bang-up job in helping Eggs build just a perennially dominant program here at IU. So kudos to him. Hopefully that comes with a hefty pay raise. Looking forward as much as anything to getting back at Armstrong and seeing a team that's returning pretty much everybody for the most part. They look to be very dangerous once again this year, which is par for the course for Indiana soccer. But it's going to be a big year for those guys as well. I can't wait to get back on the sidelines and check them out.
Chris, going back to the Bahamas game, says the games in the Bahamas are not win or lose, but where the players are, the game plans, and what needs to be worked on. Yeah, that's kind of what the Chronic was talking about, but that's, to me, the reason why there is no TV or radio, Kevin. Like Chronic said, I don't think they want anything getting out because they want to see what they have right now against other competition.
Yeah, and I think the value of just, being on the court, just the practices, just the fact that you're going to be able to establish a little bit of chemistry before you really kind of get into it in the fall and October will be invaluable. I think it'll be important, particularly for a new coaching staff. Expectations will be set, and they'll be able to, maybe get a little jump on some of the concepts of what they're going to try to do, both offensively and defensively, because it will be a shift from, what they did under Archie. Probably a lot more spread out offensively. Certainly, the 4-and-1 and, having guys that, can shoot a little bit on the perimeter as well is something that's going to be, I think Indiana fans are going to be welcome to see, but you got to knock down those shots too. You got to find guys that can knock down those shots.
And the teams that they're playing, these guys are basically professional players. I mean, we're not talking about NBA, but they're professional players.
Yeah, and, I think the one thing that it gives them, not only strategically does it, kind of keep your game plans under wraps, I think from a functional standpoint, it's going to give these guys the opportunity to fail without really having to deal with a lot of the blowback, some of those extrinsic consequences that come, and maybe opening up a little opportunity for some experimentation and some of the schemes they're trying to put in here and some of the positions these guys play in. This is one where who knows how it's going to go. I mean, I don't know that there's a whole lot of scouting on the opponent. At least as it relates to the type of competition they're going to face in this Indiana team. So really kind of giving them a free pass to go out and just get some run in and figure out what the chemistry looks like, figure out, who fits best where, who fits best together. And, more than anything, get off campus for a little bit, go have some fun and some sun. It's a great opportunity to kind of massage some of the donors and some of the boosters around the program down there in Paradise. And at the end of the day, I think probably more than anything, it's the additional practice time. I think the staff gets 10 days, if I'm not mistaken, of additional practice, full practice. And I don't think you can overstate how important that is for a new staff, for a roster with as many new faces as Indiana is going to be rolling out, just to get that full on time before the trip even begins. So no matter the outcome, just the opportunity to get 2 weeks together in a full practice setting in Cook Hall, it's going to be, I would imagine, going to be invaluable and irreplaceable for these guys when the season finally does start.
And I don't know much about BC Mega, Kevin. Do you?
Yeah, no, overseas team. I think Goga Batazzi had a cup of coffee there when he was like 15, 16 years old. So a lot of guys from Eastern Europe that are of high school age, but advanced players play there up until 19, 20 years old. So kind of a professional club team in the Eastern European area that
Belgrade, Serbia
will be that will be able to and certainly we know the basketball talent from that area of the world and how it's evolved the last 20 or 30 years. It'll be fierce competition for sure.
I think part of the reason they're not having radio is because so Don Fisher does not have to pronounce the opposing players' names.
Let's be honest, it's just going to give Fish more time on the courses down there.
Oh, is he going down still?
I wouldn't be surprised, man. You think Don misses an opportunity to go play some golf in paradise?
No, not at all. I wouldn't.
Kudos.
But yeah.
By the way, Bahamas in August, it'll be like bath water there, by the way. I mean, I've been to Florida in August. When you go in the ocean, it's like, 80 degrees, in the water. It's like being in a warm bath.
Now, this team, the mega team, they did have a guy picked 50th in the NBA draft. No, and 13th. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Is that this year? So they've had guys drafted.
Yeah, Goga. I mean, Goga came out of there. Batasi 2 years ago. He's first round draft pick.
Oh, I meant directly from there, but it'll be interesting. But looking forward to everything getting started and just hope that it can continue to start and we can just have fun and people go out and do what they're supposed to do. Chronic, I hope you have a great rest of your week, man.
Hey, likewise. Looking forward to it. Like I said, it's officially the end of summer now, so we're going to try to transition into the new routine, going on my sleep-ins here in the morning. Now I got to go run 2 kids to school every day.
Well, get better on that knee, brother, and we'll get you some rehab going.
That's the biggest thing right now is just trying to figure out when to fit it in without having to sacrifice too much fun that's already in the schedule. We've been looking forward to the fall calendar for over a year now. So just going to have to figure out a way to manage it with as minimal disruption as possible. But like I said, man, I'm happy to get to the other side and hopefully it's as smooth as QB1's has been. I'll come back stronger.
Absolutely. Well, appreciate it. Chronic Hoosier joining us here on Indiana Sports Speed Radio. We've got more coming back to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether you're looking for a relaxed...
What's 1070 AM? I mean, is that the fans AM?
That's the fans AM signal, but they have FM, signals too, so.
Why would they kill the AM signal?
I guess apparently it wasn't working for them, or maybe people weren't tuning in on it or something. Or I always used it on the car radio, so I'm gonna have to adjust.
I did too. It's the only way I could listen to that station.
Yeah, I think the FM signal is strong enough though, where we'll get that down here too.
What? So what do they do with that? Just closed it down?
Yeah, they just got rid of the signal apparently. So now if you want to listen to JMV or Dockage, you have to listen to FM. Kevin Bowen or whatever. Kevin Bowen. I still love Bob and Tom. They're great.
Well, they used to be. It was the greatest thing when I was in college and after that, but it's stale.
No, they're good. They're still pretty funny. I mean, I think they're still.
Well, it depends.
Yeah.
Tom thinks he's much funnier than he is. He tries to be too
Tom
intellectually
is
funny. He tries to be too intellectual funny, and he's not.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's kind of funny how the other comedians make fun of Tom for being snooty. I think that's good. That's part of the shtick. That's what I like about it. Is like they rag on Tom all the time because he's turned into this kind of old curmudgeon also.
Wow.
What?
They've had the tower area that's going to be, it's coming down, I guess.
What tower area? For
I think
1070.
he's talking about 1070.
They sold their land that the tower was on, and they're going to use translators only.
All right.
$70 acres, my God.
All right, bringing us back in.
For a new or a used vehicle, Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington's got you covered. They're Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. For deals like this, how about a new 2020 Honda Civic LX front-wheel drive lease for just $180 a month? Or a new 2021 Honda Accord LX front-wheel drive lease for just $270 a month. Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you here on this Tuesday. Brought to you by the great folks at Andy Moore Honda. Make sure if you're looking for a vehicle, get out to Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Get you taken care of. I'm reading something here about a Canadian diver. Did you see this? No. Canadian diver Pamela Ware experienced the worst case scenario for any diver at the Tokyo Olympics, competing in the women's 3 meter springboard semifinal. Ware had a misstep on her approach that forced her to bail on her last dive and jump feet first into the water.
Well, she got safely, that happens,
Worse, she was competing for the final. Man, that's not good.
Yeah.
That would, I didn't see that, but can you imagine watching the Olympics and watching someone competing for the final just jump off straight into the water like they're jumping into the pool? Because that's what it looks like. I'm looking at a picture here. And you probably can't see it on the camera, but that bottom one, she's just jumping in. I'm like, oh my God. How does that happen? I've never seen that happen.
It's going to be on blooper reels all over the place. Yeah.
That's just a great one. But yeah. Schwarber, Kyle Schwarber, talk about him going to Boston. How is anybody ever going to pitch to Kyle Schwarber at Fenway Park? He can bunt it out of the park on left field or right field there.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what is it, like 270 to the?
No, it's more than that, but it's 310 down the line and 330 or 340 in the power. But you got the big wall. If you hit a lot of line drives, you get the ball bouncing off the wall. But he has still a little bit of a hamstring issue, right? I don't know if he's 100% back yet, but yeah, he'll be really good for that ballpark. No doubt. And he's he'll rake there. He will. And good news is he's out of the NL East because he was killing us, the Mets. My team. So he'll be. Mets have a bunch of games with the Nationals, and they're pretty depleted. But the Marlins are depleted too. Mets couldn't beat them, so they're just in a free fall right now.
Hey, the right field, 302.
Yeah.
Come on, that's
Pesky's pole, but it does kind of jut out though a little bit. Like it's kind of a weird stadium that way. But if you hit the ball right down the line there, yeah, you can hook the ball around the pole and get.
Well, the thing is about Fenway, deep center field is it says center field is 420.
Yeah.
And
there's a big wall out there.
But then it jags in. Yeah. I remember there's a weird it comes straight in and I was talking to somebody about that yesterday, and I said, why on earth did they design it like that? The wall is going around like it's supposed to, and then it stops, comes in straight, and then continues on around at Fenway Park. And I think someone told me that back then they set that up for Ted Williams.
Well, it was
makes sense.
1910, yeah.
Well,
when Williams was the 1940s, but it was, all those old style ballparks have those like nooks and crannies, in them that are
not
weird.
like this. This is odd.
Wrigley.
There's a picture of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
see all the Jags. I mean, normally it's just circular, nice and circular. That thing has got. It looks like a street.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's built around a bunch of streets too. That's the thing. If you've ever been to that, it's a cool ballpark.
I've never seen a ballpark with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 outfield dimensions.
I will tell you this: if you go there, the seats are built for the dimension of how people look in 1910. If you have a wide trunk in one of those seats, you're going to be squished in like a sardine there. It's
hey,
I mean, they're really
it's not worse than going to a game at Notre Dame Stadium.
Same thing.
That is the worst. Oh, it's worse. Their seats are still 2x6 boards.
Yeah,
I'm not kidding. It's a 2x6 board that you sit on, and they give you about this much space. I mean, you're going to talk about what their capacity is and what they can actually get in. Two different things.
You're someone doing a lot of squats and stuff. You're going to have a hard time, sitting in those
I've been to Fenway. Fenway's a great park. Fenway and
love Fenway.
Wrigley are the only two parks.
Mike Piazza hit 2 home runs over the wall in Fenway. Yeah.
Let's see. Ross said he picked up 1070 in the car all the way into Kentucky. Yeah, you can do that with those old FM. Ross said they sold that property for $70 million. Yeah, as soon as I saw that's $1 million an acre, baby. That's a nice little payday.
Yeah, exactly.
I just shut that thing down too. Yes, I do remember Terry Miners and Ron Clay on WQMF back in the day and Morning Sickness show before that. Wyatt, what sucks as a fan is those stadiums like Fenway and Wrigley, that's all the steel girders Wyatt's talking about, the obstructions, the steel girders. If you look at a clip from back in the day, well, you don't have to be back in the day at Fenway or Boston because they are back in the day. But my favorite, I was talking about this yesterday with somebody too. My favorite thing about those two parks, you literally walk in right off of the sidewalk.
Yeah.
You don't have to parking lots and climbing towers. No, right off the corner. I mean, you walk out of Wrigley, boom, you're on a street corner waving a cab. It's nuts. It's great though. Love that.
Murphy's, right? Cool. That's a big bar there. I've never been to Wrigley. I still got to get to Wrigley. Hopefully next year. I will get to Wrigley. Yeah, I've been to Comiskey, but not Wrigley.
We
got to get up there.
Very, very cool stadiums, but weird oddities like that. Yeah, but that's part of the charm. That's part of the charm. I was looking up, the Major League Baseball standings because your Mets, while they're still leading, they're stinking it up, man. Are they going to let the Phillies catch them?
Lost 4 or 5, and that one game against the Reds, they were down to their last. It would be a 5-game losing streak, but they did have that comeback on Saturday night. I was down at the factory down there at Yogi's watching that game. Enjoying a few libations, and that was a lot of fun Saturday night. But
the factory.
I said Yogi's, yeah.
Oh, yeah. They've lost 4 out of their last. They've lost 6 out of their last 10.
Yeah, 4 of the last 5, 6 of the last 10. They're just kind of treading water. Well, DeGrom's out. They don't know if he's ever going to come back. Lindor's out.
Meanwhile,
picked up Javi
Baez.
Trade deadline, yeah.
Meanwhile, the Reds, however, have won 7 out of their last 10. Unfortunately for them, the Brewers have won 8 out of their last 10.
Yeah.
How you go? Imagine that. You just won 70% of the last 10 ball games, and you lose ground.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Well, Brewers are tough. But the Reds are in the wild card hunt, I think, with the Padres, and they get Castellanos probably back soon, right? I guess he was.
How many? There's still just 2 wild card spots.
Yeah, Joey Votto. How about him, huh? So he had 7 games in a row with a homer. Was going to Ty Mattingly, the Evansville kid, and then
should have 8. He missed 8 by this much.
Off the top of the wall on Saturday night, yeah.
Can you believe that? That was the craziest thing. If you weren't aware of that, Joey Votto of the Reds set a club record. He had tied it at 5. And I remember I mentioned it on here because Ted Kluszewski IU graduate who played for the Reds, played football on a Big Ten championship football team back in the 40s for IU, played for the Reds. He was one of like 6 former Reds, Johnny Bench, that had 5 consecutive games with a home run. Joey Votto tied that, broke that at 6, broke it at 7, and should have broken it at 8 because, man, oh, God, he hit one that hit the top of the wall. I mean, you couldn't get any closer.
That would have tied the major league record, which is held by Mattingly and Junior Griffey. 8 in a row, 8 home runs in 8 straight games.
Did Junior Griffey set that as a Red? No, he couldn't have because he was in there at 5.
Yeah.
He was one of the 5 guys at 5.
Yeah. He did it as a Mariner in the 1990s. And I remember when Mattingly did it with the Yankees in like 1987 or 86. I think.
He was with the Yankees when he did it?
Yeah.
Donnie Baseball.
They have a street named after him in Evansville.
Well, of course they do. They've got a lot of stuff named after him. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah. You ever driven on that street or no?
I don't remember. If I did, I apologize. I don't recall. But Wyatt also said he struck him that it was how skinny. Oh, dude. He says what struck him about Wrigley is how skinny the concourse was. Well, for one thing, Americans used to be skinnier.
Yeah.
And it's not a joke. That's part of it. People were not as big as they are today in America. And that's just a fact.
Every generation. Yeah.
But also, they didn't plan
Yeah.
like planning is done today. Because let me tell you, I remember being at the Houston Astrodome for the last event there. I was there for the Houston Rodeo, and then George Strait did the last concert there ever. And I remember thinking the same thing. The concourse for that venue was, I'm like, gosh, it's really small. And then when we're leaving, people were going both directions. And it was like salmon swimming upstream. But yeah, older venues, they didn't have the planning. Americans were smaller.
Yeah. Every generation gets bigger. Like I go to the gym, I go to Planet Fitness, and I see some of these.
You can't do that though. Eventually, no, you can't continue to get bigger.
No, I'm talking about these college kids now, how big they are, how strong. Like,
oh,
they're
you mean
grown,
muscular wise? Yeah.
Yeah, they're just bigger humans. You know, every generation. It's just
there's more. Everything has changed. The knowledge of nutrition has changed. The course of exercise has changed. Colleges that have that's all that they have people that are paid big dollars to do nothing but nutritionalize and grow the athletes.
Yeah. I'm not talking just about athletes. I'm talking about average people. Like if I go to Planet Fitness and I see an average 18 to 20-year-old kid in there, I mean, they're just like grown. They weren't that big back in our day when we were 18 to 20.
Grown ass man.
Yeah. They're just bigger humans out there.
Yeah, we got to take a break. Now's as good a time as any. Let's do that. We'll be back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda. Back right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're the culture's kind of screwed.
Why?
Quarterback.
Oh, yeah. And they have Hunley in there, too. He's terrible, apparently, according to George. Eason is terrible. We'll see. They're saying 5 to 12 weeks for Wentz, yeah. Oh, I'm so tired. I woke up at like 6 for like a half hour, and then I went back to bed, and then I woke up at 7:30 for like 10 minutes, and then I went back to bed, and then I woke up at 8:30.
Man, I'm trying to stay out of the political side of the COVID deal. But like someone responded to one of the videos and it said, "Go ahead and get the COVID shot if that's what you want, but don't chastise and ridicule me for not getting the COVID shot. My body, my choice." Ever heard that saying before? Oh, and by the way, I'm 61 years old and I've got type 2 diabetes, slightly a little overweight, and I'm good with it. No problem since this whole stuff started. Until it's not.
Well,
what video
that's like saying I've walked across the street 1,000 times and have never been hit by a car. Or no, it's like saying I've walked across a green light street 1,000 times and never been hit by a car. Until you are, and you're dead.
I think the hard thing is like, and James Franklin brought this up at Media Day, was like just the fact of like, doing it for how your own personal choice versus doing it
the
for your
mankind,
neighbor. Doing it for your neighbor, doing it for exactly.
Yeah, I really don't care of other people's reasons unless there is a reason, unless there is a reason, medical reason for them to not have it. They should have it.
A compelling medical. Yeah.
And here you've got somebody who they have a compelling reason to have it and aren't getting it.
All right, we're coming back in.
And seafood. Sam's Ale House in Carmel and on 86th Street in Indy have a long list of craft beers and all of the right foods to go with. Plan a day on the links at Eagle Point in Bloomington, then stay for dinner at Sam's Clubhouse. Sam's Restaurants, professionals in the art of food and drink. This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back on this Tuesday. Kevin Brockway is with us from CNHI.
Jim, Go ahead. I was going to say, I stole one of your ideas, as I often do, about we had our initial Big Ten column this week, and I wrote about the point that you had been making in the offseason, the impact of fans, of, potential full houses, the Big House, Penn State and stuff and everything like that. And I'm kind of glad I got out of the way, because with this COVID situation, I mean, are we in trouble here? Is it going to happen? Is it going to be limited capacity? Are they going to backtrack between now?
Here's the thing. I don't think that most places are in trouble. But I think that Bloomington could be in trouble just because it's in Monroe County. And if, again, for those of you who, I'm not trying to slam Monroe County, they're just what you would call more on the liberal side, more on the.
But many college towns are that way, Jim. I mean, I don't think it's exclusive to that. I'm sure Ann Arbor.
It's not. Some are. It depends on the type.
I'm sure Ann Arbor will be the same way. It may be State College. I think you have a lot of. So, I mean, local ordinances, like, we will see how that plays out. But
here's the thing about that is I agree, because when you have these students, you want to talk about pure and unadulterated ignorance. I can say that because I was a student. It's just stupidity half the time. Moronic behavior when it comes to this. We saw that last year. When the first damn thing that happened were parties going on.
Yeah.
And it was like, you just want to go in there with a fire hose and just start wiping them out and saying, you stupid people. It's the stupidity that gets it. That's the problem.
Well, yeah.
If this was polio or something like that, we would not be getting this pushback. Why the pushback? I don't understand the pushback. What is it? The
frontal lobe of the brain doesn't fully develop until 26, as I often say.
No, I'm talking about people that are older than that, though. What's the deal with the pushback? The kids, because they were convinced that they were going to be okay because they're young, it doesn't affect them. It's going to be all right. Yeah. It's not about that. It's not about you. It's about you spreading it and continuing the spread. And that's what I think people are not getting. You're continuing to spread it. Or, at worst, even if you get it and you're vaccinated, it all but eliminates the symptoms. You're not going to die. You're not going to have to go to the hospital. You're not going to be taking up a bed that someone who is sick with cancer could use, or that someone got hit by a car could use, or a number of other things, simply because you didn't take the damn shot. I'm sorry. This is not politics to me. I'm not political. It's common sense.
Yeah.
Unless there is a compelling reason for you to not have it, have it. Take it. Stop this madness.
And it's about helping your neighbor. It's about looking out for someone other than yourself too. I think if you frame it in that terms, sacrificing for others, which
people don't care about that.
We have so often done.
I don't think too many people, obviously, these people that have not gotten vaccinated don't care about that.
Yeah.
They've shown it. They haven't gotten vaccinated, and the numbers, they're not lying. There's a reason this is happening.
Yeah.
It's continuing. You have to do what you can to minimize it. If you don't minimize it, it's going to keep going. It hasn't been minimized. It was. And then seriously, look at that map. Look at the map where it's raging. It is the SEC countries. Who has been the most adamant against vaccination, the most adamant against vaccines, the most adamant against allowing things to remain open? Where? The Southeast.
Yep.
And who is in the worst problems? The Southeast.
Here's something that's fascinating. Penn State, I'm trying to look up the date, hosts Auburn. What happens if Auburn brings their fans up?
Well, first of all, how are they going to do that when Penn State already sells out that 100,000 seat stadium?
Yeah, but every stadium has a section that they.
Oh, I understand. They'll give them a few. They don't get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there will be a minimum number of people from Alabama that will be up there in Pennsylvania, and does that become, or do you, if you're a school in an area that doesn't have as high as an infection rate, do you tell Auburn, hey, look, we're not giving you a fan allowance? Or do you do that if you're in a different part of the country? A lot of these non-conference matchups, you're going to have, schools from the Southeast. If it's, a state that has a lot of vaccinations, could you do that?
Exactly. Let's see. Not speaking about himself, but a lot of people I know does not want to be told they have to do something, especially by the government. I don't care what they want. Sometimes in life, you have to be told.
Yeah.
People have to get over. I'm not talking about you, Ross, but sometimes in life, you have to be told. And I don't care who the hell you are. You have to be told. And you've got too much of an ego. You need to be kicked in the ass.
You've got to frame it in the context of, hey, you're helping someone else. We're all in this together.
See, you keep going to that.
That should have been the message, You're helping your fellow man. You're helping your fellow neighbor. That's
the people that are not vaccinated now don't give a crap. That's what I'm saying. The people that are in that boat, they don't give a crap about doing that, or they would have already done it. So that's where we are. The group maybe they're not doing that.
Maybe they haven't done it because that messaging didn't get across, and it should have gotten across better. How
can it not get across? It's everywhere. You have to have your head up the sand.
Yeah.
To not have heard that, to not figure it out. Now, I understand ignorance plays a part in it. And like Pete said a minute ago, where was that? Where we go? I missed his wrong one. Did not have the internet, conspiracy theories, extremism, misinformation, people that are saying things that are not true, and people that listen to that. But University of Michigan started today masks indoors for anyone on campus, no matter if vaccinated or not. IU's mask requirement or vaccination requirement has been upheld by the court. So Tony says, too many don't care. I want to be able to do what I want to do. Don't you step in my way. Right. That's basically what I said. But it's going to cost everybody. Jennifer, Kevin, people are so selfish, right?
Yeah.
Pete's in Minnesota, but yeah, it's just, I didn't want to get off on this tangent, but it's bull crap. It really is. We had turned a corner after all that time and being held down. We had turned a corner, and because of it's the Delta variant, but it could have also been helped with this group. And it just, do you want to go to games this year or not? Do you want to be able to continue to go to restaurants or not? You want to go back to having to sit at home? I know some people would like that. I don't. I'm over that deal.
Yep. But we're heading back there. Like it or not, unfortunately, that's where we're headed.
Well, since Monroe County, though, is much more stringent, what is that going to do about IU athletics? I will guarantee you this. There is no way, not after the loss that they went through last year, they can mandate masks, but there is no way they will limit capacity this year.
Yeah.
They cannot take the loss, the financial loss.
Yeah, and I think that, I think if you have things in place, if you have mask requirements outdoors, you have vaccinated sections, there are ways that you can do it. You're just going to have
people
to really
lie.
take it down. But we'll see, like you said, we'll see how the students react, how the college kids react in terms of that. Will they follow the guidelines? That's going to be very important.
Well, they're required to be vaccinated.
Yeah.
So that's a big help right there.
Sure.
And I think that why can't people be required to be vaccinated? Seriously, it is a public emergency. This is a world pandemic.
It's a health crisis, public health crisis.
It's not going away, folks. I mean, eventually it will, but we still have the flu.
Yep.
I mean, I'm tired of talking about it. I'm tired of.
What are you looking forward to in Indiana football camp? What do you want to see?
All right, one more. Ross is retired and vaxxed, but still worried about others. Retirement gives me the option to social distance.
Yep.
And that's another thing. I was somewhere the other night and people want to get right in your face. And I'm like, back up. I mean, like right here. I'm like, man, back up. I still don't like people. I'm like, in this day and age, I'm like, just give me some space. It doesn't have to be 6 feet. Chris says New York City has announced requiring proof of vaccinations to enter restaurants, gyms, and other things.
I still have my card.
I was going to say, I've carried my card in my wallet since I got it. And let me tell you this, when they come out with that booster shot, don't get knocked down by me trying to be first in line. I'll be first in line.
Yeah, I'll get it too.
I guarantee you. I can't wait. All right, enough. All right, this is the last one. It's a public health crisis, and they've made it full-blown political. It's terrible. And it is. You're right, Jesse.
Yeah, it is.
All right. What would you ask me? Let's get back to some sports.
Oh, what are you looking forward to seeing in Indiana football camp this month?
A healthy Michael Penix movement, connection, speed on defense. I mean, there's not a lot you see in camp. Other than that's it, because everything else you can't really see.
He's not going to take part in the live periods early. I mean, I think they're going to work him in. It's going to be interesting. That's going to be interesting for me to see is how they integrate him to get him ready for September 4th. Will be
because it's so important to have that synchronicity with the offense.
Yeah.
Now, I think this offense is going to be not quite as pass heavy because I think they're going to actually have somewhat of a running game.
Yeah.
But they're still going to throw the ball. I don't know. What were they? Were they 50-50 last year?
Balance pass? Probably more like 55-45 pass to run. Yeah.
Well, I think that they'll stay along that. I mean, that's a pretty good balance line.
I think so. Look, college, it becomes so quarterback centric now in college, and Indiana has the quarterback if he's healthy. I mean, and Penix does have that chemistry with Ty Freifogel. But what I thought was interesting was I asked him and I asked some of the receivers just how much he's throwing to the new guys. DJ Matthews, Cameron Buckley, guys like that, the transfers that have come in. And if he can establish chemistry with those guys, to go with Ty Freifogel, then watch out. But there could be a little bit of an adjustment period there early, and you've got that tough early schedule. You've got Iowa, then you have obviously Idaho at the home opener, and then you have Cincinnati. So 2 or 3 are going to be likely preseason top 25 opponents. So that's going to be really interesting to see, or telling to see, kind of the sense of urgency in Camp 2 and getting ready for 2 of those 3 high-level games.
Anybody going to Iowa? I mean, I'm going to Iowa. Iowa's going to be a heavily attended IU media deal. I'd say there'll be more. Oh, yeah, I'm definitely going to Iowa.
Are you going to stay in Iowa City, or are you going to stay in Davenport?
Man, I don't know what I'm having for breakfast tomorrow, brother.
Are you popular with the Chicago Police Department?
Why are you not popular with the Chicago Police Department? If you have not watched Midnight Run, you really should. But you have to be someone like me who that movie's like The Big Lebowski. There are just so many subtle lines that you have to listen to. And one of my favorite, they're trying to steal, I think it was a Bronco. They're on the side of the road. He's trying to jump it. And Charles Grodin, who is nothing but the greatest, what do you call it? His humor.
Deadpan, yeah.
Yes, just complete deadpan, just total. But he just leans in and, I've got an idea. You get it started and I'll run over you. I mean, it's just because I just love that movie. I wish you hadn't brought it up. Oh man, fun times.
But yeah, Iowa will be that will be a telling game. It's going to be great, good early season.
Well, it's going to be a season starter because it's not the end of the world if they lose. It's especially if it's a close game.
Yeah.
You'll lose no respect. You'll lose nothing. What you can gain is immeasurable.
If you can
go on the road, start the season with a road conference win over a ranked opponent.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know if Indiana would have started the year. I'll have to go back and look to see if has Indiana ever started the football season with a win over a ranked opponent on the road. I'm gonna have to go back and look through the book now.
You'd have to go back. You'd have to go back decades for that. But I think what's going to be interesting is they're going to run the football, so it'll be a good early test for the run defense. They've got Goodson, who's a very good running back, big physical offensive line. But if you can shut down the run at Iowa and make Pietrus try to beat you, he's not the second coming of Tom Brady here. He was a little shaky his first year as a starter. And I think that you really got to go into that game defensively, taking away the run and make their quarterback and their passing game beat you. And if you can do that and be physical and withstand that for 4 quarters, Micah McFadden, just be really stout against the run. DeMarcus Elliott, some of the new guys they brought in on the defensive line, maybe Weston Kramer, even the guy from Northern Illinois. You just got to be really stout against the run in that game. I think if you can do that. Make them beat you with a pass, and Pietrus, threw 5 picks last year. The secondary gets picks. Very similar to Penn State, just keep them in the game. And then, you hope that Penix and the offense has a good enough day there because Iowa's going to be, pretty tough and physical defensively as well.
Yeah. Looking back over the Indiana's football deal, I'm like, I'll have to do some studying because that 0-1 start in 1887 is that they didn't win a game for the first 1, 2, 3 skip. They didn't have a team in 1890. 1891 won 1 and 5. 1892 without a coach, they went 2-2, their best record to date.
Did they face the Evansville Athletic Club or the Mass?
It doesn't say who they played, but I'll tell you what's great is there's a picture of Madison Gilliam Contraman, their coach then. He was an American football player, coach, college athletics administrator, and lawyer. He served as the head coach at Indiana from 1896 to 97, Knox College at Galesburg, Illinois in 1899. It's just funny to look at these old things.
They have one of these handlebar mustaches or something, or
He did.
Yeah, there you go.
No, he does not have a mustache of any kind, but he has what looks to be a animal skin
All right.
tied up deal. I thought he was an American Indian for a moment.
Native American.
Yeah, it's just funny looking back at this stuff. But when did the Big Ten begin?
1902, right?
Because Indiana was in the Western Conference at 1900. Big Ten, 1953. That can't be right, is it? No, because they were champions in the 40s. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Somebody did something wrong here. They haven't updated this. Bo McMillan was the coach back then. In 44, they went 7-3. In 42, they went 7-3. Bo McMillan was the man who turned that program around.
Yeah.
Once he got there, 4-3 he had a winning season. No, he had 3-3 his very first season. Winning season. Ooh, then they went 1-6, 2-4, 3-5, 2-6, 7-3, 4-4, 7-3, 9-0 in 1945. So there was the good times. Hey, I guess we're about out of time.
Yeah.
Been fun. Tomorrow is Wednesday?
Yeah.
We're back at it.
Got Dillinson, right?
Dylan, and I can't. I'm trying to get Joe Smith. Joe Smith going into the Monroe County Hall of Fame this
Congrats to
weekend.
Joe, great guy.
Absolutely, very deserving.
Yeah,
we'll see what else we can get scared up. Big thanks to Chronic Hoosier, of course, and to Mike DeCourcy, and of course to Kevin Brockway. Thank you, sir. What's up next for you?
Yeah, just gearing up for football camp. I'll also have a story today a little bit about some outside, thoughts on Indiana football, just the rise under Tom Allen. I had a chance to talk to Jerry DiNardo, former IU coach, had some interesting things to say, and just some other outside perspectives on what Tom Allen has kind of built heading into the season.
Let's see why I was asking. Is a game televised on Fox? The Iowa game, it is on the Big Ten Network, I think. Yeah. So there you go, Wyatt. Thank you for asking. But there you go. Hey, that's going to wrap it up for us. Thank you to most importantly, and thanks to John, the producer, but thanks most of all to you guys. Without you, no reason for us to be here. But we're back tomorrow to do it all over again.
You're going to take calls soon, right?
Yep. Oh, well, working on that to be happening as soon as possible. But until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.